Morecambe, once a place where celebrities would visit, is now a one-day attraction. People who come to Morecambe for the first time in the 21st century may walk past a blue construction wall with vegetation behind it. Little do they know that behind that wall once stood one of the biggest landmarks in Morecambe's history, Frontierland. Join me as we travel back in time to tell the story of Frontierland Family Theme Park. The park's story began in 1896 when an entrepreneur named Alderman William George Bean opened an American-style amusement park in Blackpool named Blackpool Pleasure Beach. It quickly became very popular, and in 1906 its sister park, West End Amusement Park, opened on the seafront in Morecambe. It opened with no roller coasters, but it did offer brought people in for years. Eventually, in 1939, a wooden coaster designed by Charles Page opened. Originally named Cyclone, in 1987 it was renamed Texas Tornado. This ride was an out-and-back wooden roller coaster which would line a part of the park's perimeter. Sometime between 1906 and 1987, the park was renamed Morecambe Pleasure Park and Fun City, and in 1987 the park was renamed Frontierland Western Theme Park, but it is more remembered as Frontierland Family Theme Park. As years went on, the park grew. Since 1939, another 5 coasters opened, but 2 of them are still unknown as to when they opened. These 2 coasters are named American Coaster and Jammin'. American Coaster was a supercar model roller coaster, while Jammin' was a Barbizon Jamming. It was rumoured that Jammin' was the same ride as Runaway Mine Train at M&D Scotland Theme Park, based on the opening day of Runaway Mine Train, and only a few Barbizon Jammings were ever constructed. In 1960, the Runaway Mine Train opened. It was a wooden Wild Mouse like Wild Mouse at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. In 1982, a log flume opened which became memorable after the park closed. It featured a small drop around the size of the drop featured on Rugrats Lost River at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. 1988 brought Stampede, a pin-powered Zyklon Z40 model which once operated at Blackpool Pleasure Beach as Cyclone, after being removed for avalanche. Stampede closed in 1998 and it is unknown what happened to the ride after that. The last coaster to open was Rattler in 1991. It was a relocated Big Apple / Wacky Worm coaster from the National Garden Festival, where it operated in 1990. It was nicely themed and was located next to the most iconic part of the park. 1993 brought one of the most famous rides to ever operate at Frontierland, the Polo Tower. It was a standard observation tower which once operated at Blackpool Pleasure Beach from 1974 to 1992 and was removed for the big one. The Polo Tower stood at the edge of the park by the sea and next to the road that runs across the beach. The Polo Tower was a 150-foot gyro tower and was also used as a telephone mast. Jeffrey Thompson, who owned both Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Frontierland, signed a 20-year contract for the Polo Tower to become a telephone mast as well as a standard observation tower. In 1999, the last big investment for the park was the Polo Tower. The park was still very strong, meaning that attendance was good and the park was in great shape, but Jeffrey Thompson made an announcement that no one was expecting. Jeffrey Thompson announced that Frontierland Family Theme Park would not reopen in 2000 and the years onward. The last day of operation was November 7th, 1999. Despite the park closing that year, the park began demolition the year before, beginning with Stampede, but after that day ended, the park was quickly demolished. Only 2 rides will stay on the site. The log flume stayed on the site for unknown reasons, and the Polo Tower stayed on the site due to the contract of it being a telephone mast. The entrance and water tower was left as well for unknown reasons like the log flume. After the park was levelled, an outlet by Morrison's and a fitness centre was built on the site that Stampede once stood on. The site remained empty. In 2009, most of the log flume was demolished and parts of it still remaining today. The entrance was demolished around this time as well, leaving the Polo Tower alone on the site. The Polo Tower stayed on the site for 4 years after the contract ended, but was later scrapped. The only thing left of the original park was original parts of the log flume. Despite the park being gone, some of the rides still operate. Some of the flat rides were relocated to Pleasureland Southport, Blackpool Pleasure Beach's other sister park. The Runaway Mine Train was relocated to Pleasureland Southport, but when the park first closed in 2006, it was relocated to Dreamland Market, where it remains in storage and has not reopened. Rattler was relocated to Blackpool Pleasure Beach in 2004, where it was named Big Apple, but it closed the same year as its 30-foot apple was missing. It was later bought by Paul Hart, who has owned it since 2004, who started travelling the ride. American Coaster now travels with travelling showman John Thomas Bagnall Jr., who operates it as Wild Frontier and still believes to operate the ride. Despite all these relocations of rides formerly operating at Frontierland, we did lose some. For example, Texas Tornado was demolished alongside the park. Frontierland operated for 93 years and entertained millions of people. Many people were sad about the park's closure, and people still hope that Morecambe will get a new theme park, but most they get each year is a few travelling rides. As of 2019, the only things that still remain of the old park is a part of the log flume and the foundations for the Polo Tower and the entrance building. The fitness centre that was built where Stampede once stood still stands, but other than that, the land remains empty and abandoned. Another fondly remembered landmark of Morecambe's history that could last many more years but instead was torn down.